I'm making you squeal.
Kiwi, we're live.
We're live.
Says
Hey
it right
guys.
there.
Hey guys, there's no guys here.
Oh God, it's hot. I have my glasses on so I can see this freaking thing.
Crazy hot.
It's like at least 7. I haven't been here all day, and the doors have been closed, and the sun's been beating on the roof. I don't have any air conditioning in the main part of the shop here, so it's like, what has it got? It's got to be 100, 105.
It's hot.
It's hot.
Like I got out of my car after driving 20 minutes. And I was
With
nice
your
and
air
cold
conditioning.
with my conditioning. Got out and thought, damn, it's hot here. And then I walked in the building. It's like, shit, it's even hotter.
Literally, I opened the door. It's like 85, 90 degrees outside, and when I opened the door, the heat blew out. It's crazy.
I need a beer. That's what I need.
Bill McKeisko, what's happening?
Two
Mike
Hacks
N.
Garage.
2 Hacks Garage.
Hey.
What's happening, brother? Tavo Garage. Joe K. Jays Russell Finch, John M. Matthew Booth, Terrence Seymour, Robert W. Hello, guys. Mitten Made Muscle. How is everybody doing this incredibly hot July?
Jay Russell, that
evening?
bee video was awesome.
What was awesome?
The Super Bee video.
Oh, you like that? I mean, I didn't make any of that. I was just actually looking at the comments, and like people are like, "You should have said that they advertised it as a '68 Coronet." Well, I didn't bother reading the ad because it didn't matter. I read the car. On the car. It says Super Bee, right? And it has Super Bee emblems, and it says 3D3 on the hood. I didn't have to read an ad. I just read the car. I mean, if they advertise it as a Coronet, well, that's great. Good for them. I didn't say anything about them per se. I only talked about the car and the things that were wrong with the car.
So you haven't actually seen the car in person? This is
I have not seen
that you saw.
Dr.
Online.
Art. You remember Dr. Art?
Yeah.
He went and looked at this car, and he wanted to get my opinion on it.
Oh, okay.
So he walked around the car with his phone, and he took videos of it, and he showed me the video.
So is he thinking about it for himself?
Well, not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
I get that. Yeah.
Tavo saying we're good on this cold winter Aussie morning.
Yeah, it's winter in Aussie now, man. And New Zealand.
Craig Taylor, loved reading your magazine articles. I'm glad you enjoyed them, bro. Joe K, you found the ad for the Super Bee. Mike, and nice reference. Hopefully they transmit a little bit longer. I don't know, did I miss something?
Pass? Maybe we missed a previous comment. I don't know.
Let's see. J. Russell Finch says in Melbourne it's mild but not cold. Yeah, Australia is big. That whole area.
It's huge. It's
right?
It's not
like
similar to the whole of the US. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say
Big.
compared to the US.
Big. It's huge. Yeah.
You don't think of it that way. You think of it
It's
just
actually,
like a little dot.
Yeah, technically it's a continent.
Yeah. And the vast majority is just empty.
Yeah, it's
right?
just around the outskirts.
Yeah.
Right around the coastline.
Well, why is that?
Because there's desert in the middle.
And what about New Zealand?
No, New Zealand's completely different. They're close, but completely different. New Zealand is a volcanic island, so you've got mountains through the middle of it.
Okay.
And it's long and narrow, with the mountain range basically going right down the middle of it. And yeah, it's
now how big is New Zealand compared to the States?
Oh, nowhere near. No, it's a lot smaller than Australia.
Okay, so it's the size of Texas? It's the size of...
Probably Texas, yeah, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Texas and a bit, maybe. It's not that densely populated for its size. It is an island, but it's a big ass island. So.
Let's see. Joe K says we're not safe, no mods yet. They'll be here. Relax. I know. I feel a little weird about that too, not having the mods. But
that Super Bee needs to be called the Meth Head Super Bee.
Let's see. Shouldn't have said Dodge on the grill too. Yeah, Dodge lettering. I stopped. I could have kept going, but I figured I covered the point. Let's see. Stevie says we don't need mods, but zero is cool. Well, you say we don't need mods because you're on that end of it. But if you're on this end of it, you see some of the comments that come over, you understand why we have mods.
Kevin Dwenger, have you ever heard of Pristine Motorsports ordering a 347 stroke at 445 horsepower? I have not heard of them, no. I'll be honest with you, but I'm not a huge fan of the 347. I personally believe the 331 is a better motor, and you sacrifice very little horsepower. Like the last 331 I installed was making 431 horse. The stroke is a little long on the 347, and the rod ratios aren't ideal. But there's an awful lot of them out there, and a lot of people happy with them. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Let's see. Terrence Seymour, my 67 Newport lower ball joints are a knuckle style like the B body, but Rock Auto only lifts in like upper ones, screw in like the upper ones are. Should I order the B body ones instead? Threading. I do not know if they're interchangeable. I don't know. I know that every C body lower ball joint I've done, and I haven't done like 1,000 of them because I'm not really a C body guy, but I've done them. And they have just a regular, A and B body style, the ones that I've done. So I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question for you.
You like the coming
People
soon?
always love your shirts.
6-pack coming soon.
Yeah. Spoken like a true alcoholic.
Yeah.
All right.
Somebody wanted to know what happened to your Miata. Your Miata got torn apart, sold off, and
yeah, like almost 2 years ago now. Man.
Yeah.
I finished the car. I drove it around. They didn't do anything for me. So, whoosh.
He was in a hurry.
Yeah.
Dean Stevenson's volunteering to be a moderator, but he's pretty sketchy.
Hey, you are pretty sketchy, Dean, and I respect that about you. Tavo, so with the comments on that Super Bee, should I now drop my Valiant Pacer replica project?
Yes, you should.
Not if you're building
You
a
should.
replica. If it's a legit, I tried to make that clear in the video, right? I am cool with a clone, a replica, a tribute, whatever you want to call it. But make it, honest to the car. You know what I mean? Use trim and colors and things that actually came on the car. You can make some liberties here and there, but don't go like ridiculous and have nothing match what originally was supposed to be there. That looks like a clown car. But tasteful modifications or upgrades or little liberties here and there are fine.
Tava, yes, kegs are definitely better value than a six-pack. I agree.
Kiwi with 15x8 with 3 3/4 inch back spacing, stick out heavily on the 69 rear. I found a pair of Daisy Megs I may pick up.
Oh, 15.85. You might get away with that with a fold, rolling the lip up. There's a little bit more room on the 69s than there are like the early ones. That would be close. Depends how low you want to run it, really. A lot of it too. If it's down in the weeds, then I think you might be struggling with that backspace.
This is a good question. Dog Burrito. I don't know if I like your name though. I'm a dog guy, Oh, Tony, have you ever worked on a 65 Marlin? I can't say that I have. One is for sale near me, and it's got a 237 in it. The 327.
6-cylinder?
No, the
327.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just really concerned about how hard it is to find parts for it.
Yeah.
You probably should be concerned.
Yeah.
You probably
they are
should
going to be hard for parts.
Really hard for parts.
They're going to be pretty much nothing new for them.
Yeah. If any car qualifies as a good candidate for a resto mod, like unless it's like really intact and really clean, that's not something I would like trying to make very original. It's going to be very hard to find parts.
Yeah. The 327, that's good, but I mean, what's going to make that a good car or a good one to buy is how complete it is. Like if you're missing trim around the windshield or trim around the back glass or side glass,
going to find it.
You're just not, you're going to end up buying another car for a parts car. And if you can pick them up cheap enough, that's not a bad option. But
but that car, that 65 should still have the torque tube rear.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's got the trunnion ball joints.
I've never really had a personal up close look at one of those things because we certainly never got them in New Zealand.
Yeah, there's a lot of really archaic technology from 1965 in that car, and man, you know what? I would go through Rock Auto, put that car in there, Rock Auto, and see what's available for it. Just to get a general idea. Zero is here, and Fubar is here.
Fubar, hey,
we can relax now.
Danny K, noticed station wagons getting more popular lately. Have either of you owned a wagon, and would you buy one now? Yes, and absolutely.
Yeah, I've had several wagons. I would,
Yeah, I had a 65 Impala wagon. It was a cool old car. Never should have sold that. I've had several wagons. I like them.
I had a Malibu wagon, an 81 or an 82 Malibu wagon.
Yeah.
It was my daily for, I don't know, for like 6 months back then. That was a fantastic car. I remember packing my family into that and went down to Disneyland. And my kids were little, they were like 2, 3 years old.
All right.
And what a great car that was.
I did a video not long ago on we had a 56 Suburban, Plymouth Suburban
Okay.
in their wagon. What a cool old wagon that was. 273, I think it was a 273 V8.
And
But it was a factory V8 of whatever size was appropriate, original. 2-speed auto. It was a great old car.
then there was that wagon converted to the Pontiac.
Oh, the Pontiac. There,
You did the video on. You guys want to see some like truly outstanding craftsmanship. Go look at the last. Was it the last?
I think it was the last video I did. Was the guy took a Pontiac Catalina wagon and grafted an El Camino, like both 59s, and grafted the El Camino roof and top rail of the truck bed on it.
Yeah.
And just did a stellar job.
No, the whole car is like art. You really got to look at it. It's not my cup of tea usually, but I was looking at that car and I'm like, my God, this is just beautiful. Even like the attention, the guy's attention to detail was just over the top. The door gaps, because as I was looking at, like you walking around shooting a video on the car, and I'm looking at the details on it while you're doing it. And I'm like, my God, this guy spent a lot of time making everything just so.
Certainly do.
Let's see.
Chavo a mate of yours had a load runner wagon. What is a load runner wagon?
Yeah, that was that was a Volare package, I think. I think.
There we go.
Could be wrong.
Need metal Kiwi. Take the Audi to the no-name nationals to smoke them. I mean, as tempting as that is, it's not really. A 23 Audi is not what the no-name nationals is about.
I'd go there and bury everything with it. just go.
I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, it's when guys are going there with their $10,000 toy, that they've spent the year getting ready for no-name nationals. To me, it's a little bit unfair to throw something like the Audi at them and go, look, I'm faster than you. Well, that depends how you look at it. Okay, so I can beat some old beat-up Chevy that's been thrown together in someone's backyard. It's like that. How big of an achievement is that when you?
Well, the big question is, right? So you take that car that was thrown together in the backyard. If you put 160 grand in it,
exactly,
how fast would it go?
Yeah.
So it's
yeah. So
it's all apples and oranges.
I mean, it's tempting to take it to no names, but I don't want to be like everyone and go, he's just a twat because he's bought a $high car.
Paul Cabazzola, looking for details on the engine and boiler rocket. Can you provide a parts rundown, please? I'll tell you about everything but the can. How's that sound? Because I don't want to give that up yet. It's a 30/318 block. It's got stock replacement pistons. It's got 273 rods, 273 steel crank. The heads are 273 heads, stock size valves, but they're ported. I mean ported, like to where I needed epoxy to fill in where I punched through in a couple of places. It's got a small runner intake manifold, Holley Street Dominator intake manifold, a couple of spacers, 850 Holley. It's got a dual point distributor. It's locked out at 30 degrees advance for 150 shot, and which is like the baseline on it. So it's 30 degrees locked out for 150 shot. And what else is there? What else do you want to know on that? That's pretty much it. Fubar put up the link to our merch so that I could stay out of the cardboard box. Thank you. I don't rake in the big bucks like Kiwi does. He's a craftsman. A well-paid craftsman. You must make millions every year.
Monopoly money, maybe, but not real money. No. Who we got here? George Kakula, any thoughts on AOD versus TKX swap into a 66 Mustang that has a 351 Windsor and a C4? Well, that's about as opposite of transmissions as you could get. One's automatic, one's manual.
Yeah.
The AOD is certainly a big upgrade over the C4. If you're going to go AOD, I would recommend a electronic one rather than the cable operated one, but the cable operated one's okay. It's just the electronic one's a little bit better.
Well, for simplicity's sake, though.
Simplicity's sake, the cable, with that cable operated one, you've got to make sure that adjustment's nuts on. Otherwise, you burn the transmission up in a few miles, like single digit miles, like 3, 4, 5 miles. The TKX, it's an awesome transmission. fits pretty well in the 66 Mustang. You do have to move the cross member back to get everything to line up. But other than that, there's a video on my channel of doing just that, a TKX into a 60, it was a 5 or a 6. And we moved the upper cross member back in it, the one that goes up over the transmission, to make more room and to keep the transmission high enough at the back that you don't get a vibration.
That was such intensely accurate, good information, and you've only got 38 likes.
I've only got 38
That
Well, I
was
didn't
worth
know
100
38
likes all by itself.
I didn't know 38 people liked me. Like,
All
really?
all I hear is Kiwi this, Kiwi that. Kiwi. When you're going to have Kiwi on? Why don't you have Kiwi make your videos for you? He does such a better job. Kiwi looks like he takes a shower. I hear all these things all the time. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of him.
I had
No
a shower
more.
before I came here, and now I'm wetter than I was in the shower.
Okay, where were we here? Okay, yeah, the number's going up. See, your approval rating is that's you. That's all you.
Richard Palvin, hi from New Zealand. I have a Formula S 69 Barracuda, very nice. Made in South Africa. Badged to Valiant Barracuda. Slant disc brake, small ball joint. No. Have we heard of it? No. I didn't realise they made them in South Africa. I know it shouldn't be surprised really. They do make all sorts of stuff over there, car wise. But yeah, 69 Barracuda would be nice.
Chris Freemesser. What? Tony's not wearing a black shirt. Are you feeling okay? I'm feeling sexy today. So that's why I put on the red shirt. Is that weird enough?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
Parker Russell, clutch safety switch, starter wiring question. If it goes ignition switch, clutch safety switch, then to starter. I know main light goes to starter. Don't get any starter spin.
Okay, what kind of? Yeah, but see, what Parker? What kind of car is that?
Well, is power getting through your clutch safety switch with the clutch depressed? It's something you'd have to check. It goes ignition switch, clutch safety switch, then to the starter.
If it's a Mopar, the clutch safety switch is the ground for the starter relay. If it's a Mopar.
When did they put clutch safety switches on the Mopar? What year?
1970. Was it 70?
Okay.
71. I'm not sure of the year, but that's the clutch safety switch is the ground for the starter relay.
Huh. Yeah. Okay. Let us know what sort of car it is, bud. Blue collar worker. If he starts taking off his shirt, he's out.
Yeah, it's
so
all
leave
right.
your shirt
I'm a
on.
never nude.
We need all the viewers we can get. So please don't take the shirt off.
Andrew Button, no, I have a friend with a 70 AAR and it has a clutch switch. Yeah,
Okay.
It's the ground to the starter relay.
Well, it's a Mopar. It was a bit ahead of its time. Mustangs and
very far ahead of its time.
Yeah, Mustangs didn't bother with that stuff too.
Yeah, our species has still not caught up to the technology Chrysler was using in that period of time.
Nathan Demo, hi. Kiwi Lunk UTG, looking at doing up my CL Valiant Ute with Charger 318 4-speed running gear. It has lots of rust. Would it be better sandblasting the whole body or clean it up with sanding disc? If it has lots of rust, yeah, sandblast it. The only trouble with sandblasting is you're going to quite a bit less car is going to come back from the sandblaster than what you sent to the sandblaster. But you end up with, you've got what you've got. There's no surprises after the sandblasting. That will give you plenty. And then you just work from there. You just repair the rust, just take it one bite at a time and work away at it. But CL Valiant Ute with a Charger 318 sounds like a good car.
Let's see.
It's 420 somewhere, Danny Boyd. What do you mean? I don't understand.
Clayton's Toolbox, what are your thoughts on a spool for a street shirt car? I've done it. Spools on welded spiders. If you drive the thing on the street for any amount of time, it's really not good. You would be amazed how it will murder your fuel mileage. I mean, like you'll cut your overall, your general gas mileage, you're going to cut it by a third.
Wow,
just by the
really?
fact that, well, yeah, because literally every time you vary from the exact straight and narrow, the rear wheels are fighting against each other.
Yeah.
So tire wear goes through the roof, and especially at low speeds, like in traffic and whatnot.
Yeah.
You're
So all
doing
the
just
drag,
minor turns.
So you're using more throttle to make it do the same
Yeah.
speed.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you might as well just drive around with with the parking brakes locked up. So yeah,
And they
it's good.
oversteer like a mother trucker. Like if you drive it hard,
Yeah.
the locked rear end is great for the drag strip, but if you're trying to go around corners, the back will come around on you real quick with a lock.
Especially
Because
in the
you
wet.
can't go around a corner without the wheel skidding,
Right.
because they're supposed to be going 2 different speeds.
Right.
So as soon as you get on it, like one tire's not gripping, and then you've got one left holding on, and then it's circle time.
Mike Roger wants to know, what are your thoughts on dustless blasting cars?
Oh, dustless blasting is, I mean, the only advantage with that is the lack of dust. So it makes them a little bit more more environmentally friendly, and you can do it in some places that you couldn't do regular sandblasting. Well, one of the drawbacks with it, you've got to make sure it's really clean afterwards, because the wet sand tends to set up, not like concrete, but it sets quite hard, and it sets in the little nooks and crannies. So you really need to, as soon as it's done, you need to get in there and spend a bit of time like blowing it out, drying it out, and getting rid of the sand that's in there, because when you dry blast them, or regular blast them, I should say, because the dustless is done with water, the sand just falls out because it doesn't stick. But with the water, it's like picking up sand at the beach and throwing wet sand and throwing it at your buddy or your sister or whatever, and it sticks. And that's what it does. That is the drawback of the dustless. But if you clean it properly afterwards, it's fine.
Jeff was just saying that 2 hacks, nice shirt, Tony. I ended up buying the red one and a black one. Yeah, I have the red one and a black one also. But back in the day, I had the real thing when I was actually writing for that magazine. I don't have it anymore, obviously, but it's so nostalgic to me.
Can I have a 72 Duster blaster? Yep, you can.
You can have anything blasted.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard. Need metal dry ice cleaning is the latest gimmick. I do not know anything about that. I've seen a few little clips like on social media. I don't know whether they're even what I've seen. They're just doing little pieces, little bits. I'm not sure whether they do complete cars or not. Kiwi, do you use weld-through primer on patch panels to prevent rust on the backside? Yes, I do. And really, what it's to prevent rust between the two panels you're welding together, not so much on the backside. I mean, if you can't access it after, that will help. But yeah, weld-through primer all the time. Yeah, and I don't necessarily. It's not like I use. It's like a clear liquid product. It's an acid etch, like a rust killer, and it acts as a weld-through primer as well. So it kind of kills multiple birds with one stone.
It's also a nice butter substitute for your English muffins.
I wouldn't recommend consumption of
no?
No.
Oh, I take that back.
No,
you
it's
use
very
butter.
acid. I'll tell you, if you get in any little cuts on your hands, yeah, that wakes you up. That takes your mind off things.
Find it, fix it. You know anyone who owns a Hemi Dodge Dart? Not currently. I mean, I've known many of those cars over the years, but not currently. Why do you ask?
Tavo Garage. I'm just sticking with flat discs and sanding. Yep. I've not really come across an ideal way of getting rid of all the paint and crap off metal. Like acid dipping is, has its issues. The dry sandblasting has its issues. Wet sandblasting or dustless has its issues. Paint stripper is just a messy, miserable, shitty job. But it seems there's not really an easy way of getting them clean. It's just going to be a shitty job no matter which route you take.
Okay, here's one. Riley D. Squid. I'm doing a swap in 2 Ford Focus.
Yeah.
An 05 and an 05 for V8s. You're doing 2 05 Focuses for V8s. What are you doing this for? Should I do Ford Mod or Windsor? And if Mod, Coyote, or 4.6? Would you go with rear-wheel drive V8 or stay with the front-wheel drive and do a V6? like Cyclone engine for X. I don't know what that means.
Good grief. A little tiny car like a Focus, I'd definitely go with the Windsor.
Yeah, I was thinking the same
The
thing.
Mod and the Coyote are gigantic, like great motors, but just overly big. That's the key thing that's holding them back from overtaking the LS. As far as popularity
They're
goes.
not.
Obviously, there's the Chevy and the Ford thing, but the LS is a tiny motor. You put an LS beside a Coyote, and then look at the car you're trying to put it into, and our LS is gonna fit a lot easier.
You could say the same thing about the late Hemis too.
Yeah,
They would be a lot more popular if they fit cars easier.
yeah. The LS is just a nice compact little motor, and it makes good horsepower. So yeah, no one's really topped that yet. With and the Ford guys will reluctantly admit that, but it is what it is. The Ford guys will just doggedly shoehorn the Coyote into whatever they need. But yeah, Ford Focus is not a big car, but
Let's see. Master Flash, nothing better than stripping original Chrysler enamel.
yeah.
Need Metal saying it's turbo the 4-banger and cross your fingers. Ooh, so much easier to just throw a small block in there. Tony, do a video on the differences between 318, 340, and 360. I've done it. And in fact, I've covered that in so many different angles. Bill Rollins, is it true the 5259 Magnum starter will work in an RB? Absolutely. The mini starter it's great. I keep the big starters in cars for that like that aesthetic effect. You know what I'm saying? Because there's just something about the sound of the old gear reduction starter. But if it's the kind of thing that I want it to start every time and it's got maybe some compression to it or a lot of timing in it, I'll always use one of those mini starters.
Charlotte Cullen, Mr. Kiwi, did you get my FOMOCO message? Look, I didn't. It's insanely busy at work. Like if I wasn't here doing this, I'd be at work. Messages are slipping through the cracks. I'm sorry, I'm not even responding. Like I usually try and respond to all my comments that I get on my videos, and I've just not been able to do it. So I've probably missed your message. Look me up and send me like a text message direct to my phone, and then it's right there in front of me. I don't have to go looking for it. But yeah, sorry, I don't recall seeing that one.
Zero saying, seeing Hemi Dart clones, can't believe that's the same engine bay I live with every day. You know what? And so here's the funny part, Zero. Here's the funny part about that. The Hemi fits in there easier than the big block because the exhaust comes down like this on a Hemi. It just comes down alongside the heads and then heads back. Where on the big block, it comes out before it goes down. So that's got to clear the steering box and it gets tight. The Hemi is actually a better fit in the A body than a 440 is, or even a 383. It just looks crazy. Now when they built the Hemi darts, they dented the passenger side inner fender, but it wasn't to fit the motor. The motor fit fine right at the denting. The denting was so that you could take the valve cover off easily. Because the valve cover would get hung up on the rockers, it would get wedged between the inner fender and the rockers. So they dented on the assembly line. It took a 5-pound hammer and just bashed in a section of the passenger side inner fender, and that was only so you could get the valve cover on and off easily.
Joe K's to both of us. What do you guys think about EVAP systems? Currently trying to diagnose one, no detrimental effects for drivability, but I'm tired of staring at the check engine light.
That's a problem.
You and several million other drivers.
Yes.
The EVAP, I mean, so many stupid little things can affect, trigger that EVAP code, be it from your petrol cap or gas cap being on loosely, or just not, or faulty. My daughter drives a little Ford Fiesta, and there was a little valve thing on a piece of plastic tube about this long, the little doofery thing on it, and it's like, someone, I went honestly to the workshop next door who's got the big machine for checking it, and they said replace this, and I did. Went down to Ford, got the spark, put it on, problem solved. But it's like, don't ask me what it did or why it did it. I don't know. That's why I work on old cars and send my kids' cars to the mechanics that know what the hell they're doing with new stuff.
While in Mopars, how you doing, man? My buddy has a 904 and a 72 Satellite Sebring Plus. I love those cars. That's my favorite year for them, too. With a 318. My 74 Charger is a 727 with a 318. Both cars are bone stock factory original. Why the difference? Your Charger may have been ordered with a trailer towing package. Does it have 10 or 11-inch rear drums? I know it's got discs in the front, but does it have 10 or 11-inch rear drums? Because if it's 10 or 11-inch rear drums, it's got a trailer towing package, and they could have included a 727 in that.
Need metal. Worked for Kurt Vogt in the early 80s. Shelby guy preferred the 289 to a 429. Yeah, I can see that. 289's fabulous little motor.
I love them.
Yeah, absolutely fabulous.
The Windsor. If I wasn't a Mopar guy, I'd have Windsors everywhere.
The 429, not a bad motor, not by any stretch of the imagination, but you know, a little big, a little heavy, a little underperforming. I mean, they can be made to perform. There's no question about that. Stick a set of Boss heads on them, and we've got a whole other story. But yeah, the 289 for an all-rounder, good mileage, good reliability, durability, potential horsepower, hard to beat.
Andrew Button, Cummins in a Volare. Nobody's done it yet. Somebody can be the first. You can be the first, my brother.
There you go.
Everybody will remember your name. Nathan Demo, what happened to the Hemi Mitsubishi?
Yep. If you listen quietly at night, on a quiet night, you can hear it rusting. It's in the corner of the yard. It's going to make a comeback one of these days, but frankly, as long as I'm busy as I am right now, it's going to be a little while, I'm afraid. You know, I did myself a little New Year's resolution that this year I was going to spend, you know, like a week and a half to 2 weeks a month working on my stuff. Well, it's July and that just hasn't happened.
There's so many things I wanted to get done this year, and they're just not happening for one reason or another.
I could easily spend a week and a half a month working on my stuff and still not be getting through it. But people keep coming. I'm getting drop-ins from people that haven't even called me. Like, they just cars arrive on the back of a tow truck, and they say, "Oh, just get to it when you can." And it's like,
Bill Rollins, I have a 69 Super B. Is swapping out the torsion bar suspension to a modern conversion worth it? No, 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 and no, and absolutely not. No, don't do that. It's good. Learn to love the torsion bar suspension. Do whatever upgrades you need to do or might want to do to them. But man, you are not going to improve on the factory suspension. What you will improve on is the steering, and you will improve on oil pan clearance. Okay, but that's it. That's the only improvement. Stick with your torsion bars. They're nice. They're adjustable. The thing runs flat. You could literally take the shock absorbers out of it and throw them away because the torsion bars are doing their job. Stick with the factory put there.
Charlotte Quillen, you had a dual quad 428 in your parents' house upstairs bedroom. Man, you got understanding parents, because yeah, I don't know that'd fly in the Kiwi household.
What is it?
He had a 428.
Oh, when he was 20 years old.
Yeah, Super Cobra Jet in his parents' upstairs bedroom.
Ask Kathy about my first Hemi. I built it. I guess about 23.
Yeah.
And I built it in. We lived in an apartment on Huguenot Avenue in Staten Island. It was like a studio apartment, and I built that engine in the kitchen, and it was up half a flight of stairs. This was a complete cast iron 426 Hemi, right? So me and the kid, the landlord's kid, Anthony, right, Cavicchio, who later on got into all kinds of stuff like Mustangs and whatnot, but he was like 16 at the time, and he and I wrestled this 750-pound hunk of cast iron out of the kitchen, right, through the door, and we were walking it down the steps. You know what I mean? Like, we were walking this thing like an inch at a time, and we got to the steps, and it broke the top step.
Oh no!
And it just went. It just went.
But you were popular.
I was. His old man was cool. He knew I was a little nutty, and he kind of respected me for it. He used to piss him off because I used to run the car around with open headers and shit. You know.
Yeah.
So I fired up like midnight. And then I had a funny car in the driveway too before we moved. Andrew Button, did it damage the Hemi when it dropped? It dented things up a little bit, but no, you weren't going to really hurt it. This is a giant hunk of cast iron.
Look this. Look, find it, fix it. Look up this car. 69 Barracuda Savage. There's
Yeah.
a Facebook page, only 13 made. What was that about?
It was a dealer. It was a dealer package. It was a 440. They stuck in a 69 Cuda, and they had a unique front end on it. I don't remember what they did with the sheet
69
metal
is the
on it.
same body shape as my one, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But it was a dealer. And I'm thinking they were in Chicago or Detroit, or it was someplace in the Midwest. I mean, I'm really not that up on them, but I have an idea what you're talking about. See Roma. Hey Tony, I remember. You remember that? Do you remember, Charlie? When you were around when we built the Hemi and moved it out of the kitchen?
Okay, Gary Davis, 71 Charger RT, getting a lot of rear separation at the track.
Extra heavy duty springs, pinion snubber, front section, double adjustable shocks, 440 auto car, 3,850 pounds. Whoosh.
Runs 11.
Yeah, 165/60. So let me ask you a question. What exactly do you want this thing to do? Because it sounds like you got a 165/60 with a 3,900 pound car. I mean, what do you want it to do? I think you're doing great just the way it is.
What does he mean? He's getting a lot of rear separation at the track.
The pinion snubber, so the rear end is rising.
Right.
Right. And that's not detrimental at all as long as the front end is rising either at the same rate or faster.
Right.
So, because what will happen is now, as the car leaves, right? So the car's sitting stationary, right? Torque gets applied to it. So if the rear end starts to rotate up the pinion snubber, it'll lift the back of the car.
Okay.
Right? Now that's a problem because that's transferring weight to the front. But if on the initial move, as the car raises the rear, it also raises the front in equal amount, then there's no problem at all.
Right.
The car's going to transfer the weight and go. And I mean, like this is,
So that's what he means by separation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
interesting,
bro. I think you're doing great just the way you are. But Gary, like I said, just make sure that the front end is moving at least an equal rate. Also, right? Also, and this may be an issue you run into too. The upper bump stops, right? Take off the upper bump stops. You don't have to cut the bracket off the frame, but just take the upper bump stops off, because if you've got like full separation at the rear, the rear end is rising, you may not get adequate lift at the front if the upper bump stops are still in place. So take them out, and you'll gain an extra 2.5 inches of rise in the front end.
Oh wow.
And that'll even things out. And if you've got a thing where maybe you might be getting a revolution or two out of the tire, you're hunting for the thousandths in the 60s, that might do it for you. Did I just answer that question?
Yes.
You did, right?
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I slip out of gear. I forget what I'm doing.
Can a 318 LA beat an inline 6 250 GM?
Yes.
Stock. Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, I wouldn't even been close.
250 GM, was that was the overhead cam engine they had, wasn't it? That 6-cylinder GM.
Well, it was both. It was both, because the Pontiac, the Sprint motor, the overhead cam, was a Chevy short block.
Right.
That they just put
an overhead cam head on. Yeah. That would have been quite a good little engine, I imagine. I never had it. I just didn't get to see those in New Zealand. Mr. Kiwi, I put FE Fords and 70 Torinos that never came with them. Oh, okay. So he's talking about the 428. Yeah, that'd make the Torino a much better car with a 428 in it for sure.
Chris Cadman, has anyone tried drag racing with a steam-powered car? Yes. Exhibition car. Wait, there were actually a couple of them, but I can't remember the names of them or any of the details. But this is, I'm talking the late 60s, the mid to late 60s era. I don't think there was anybody in the 70s that screwed around with steam. But yes, definitely. Just Google steam-powered drag car. But I can picture at least one of them that I saw in an issue of Drag Racing USA. And I couldn't tell you what year or month or anything like that. But yes, people did screw around with it.
That would slow off the line, wouldn't it?
It depends how it's all torque.
Right.
So you know, you could lock one of them down and really get a vehicle to move.
I guess so, yeah.
And technically, any hydrogen peroxide rocket could also be considered to be a steam-powered car because that's what's coming out the back of it. So you take something like Sammy Miller's Vanishing Point or the Pollution Pack or any of those cars that were running the hydrogen peroxide, Doug McClure's go-kart, right? Any of those cars that run on hydrogen peroxide could also technically be considered steam-powered. So.
Is it cheaper to build a blow-through carb or just buy one? He's thinking of a turbo for a small block Chev.
So if it's a Holly, first you can't use a vacuum secondary for obvious reasons. You can't use a vacuum secondary carburetor. It's got to be a mechanical secondary. But honestly, really the only thing you've got to do there's a hole on the side of the air horn, you know, that the air cleaner goes to, that the choke quad sticks up through. Well, if you close that up, you've basically, because remember the vent bowls, or the bowl vents are also in there. So you've got a hat over the top of it. All of the atmosphere that the carburetor sees is going to be directly through the turbo. So as long as you close up
That's true, because you're going to pressurize your fuel bowl.
You're going to pressurize the fuel bowl and everything else.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's not that big of a deal. There are other small modifications that you make to it. Just Google blow-through carburetor, modified carburetor.
Where they put like a big box, like a shoebox, all around the carburetor to make it a blow-through.
Well, see, that's what they did back in the early 70s when turbochargers. The Mr. Norm's GSS Dart had a Paxton supercharged 340 in it.
Right.
And that's what they did. They put the whole carburetor in a box. But they were using a thermoquad. Was it a thermoquad? Yeah, they were using a thermoquad on it.
Yep. Okay. Yes, I had a Studebaker Avanti.
Right, those
in the workshop a few weeks ago. It was like a 64, I think it was. It was a really early production one, and it was a factory supercharged.
Did it say Granatelli on it?
Gran Turismo?
No, Granatelli.
Granatelli. No, I don't think so.
Okay, because that was Granatelli was big with the supercharged. Studebakers.
And don't remember seeing that, but yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, that had from the factory had a big box around the. It looked quite, it wasn't just a square box like some of them I've seen, but it was like you could tell it was a factory option.
Yeah, as long as you can seal the throttle cable.
Yeah, the throttle linkage. Yeah, you've got to keep the pressure in. He's got a Holly 650 double pumper, which is mechanical secondary.
Yeah,
that would work. Yeah, just seal the top up and
Google it. You're going to have to do something with the power valve, which I imagine you would just block it, blank it off and go up like 5 or 6 numbers on the jets. But yeah, just do a quick Google on converting to blow through. There's so much information for stuff like that. Ari is here. What is happening, Ari?
Hey, Ari.
Oh, you're making me itch, Kiwi. Now we've got the itches. I wonder if it's the DT. No, I don't drink, so it's not the DTs.
I need some water. We got any cold water around?
You want me to go see? I'm going to go check that out for you.
I'm leaking at an alarming rate.
Yeah, I know, me too.
Joe K, how do you feel about 35K for a 69 to 72 Grand Prix in nice to decent condition? A nice car. Don't have a 69 to 72. Well, yeah, they don't have the biggest following. 30 to 35 should buy you a really nice one. Although, saying that, I've got a Cougar in the shop at the moment, a 70, which I think Tony's coming over tomorrow to do a video on it, so watch out for that. He just bought it at auction for 28 grand, and it's a really pretty looking car. Really pretty. Like, I've had a bunch of people swung by the shop and commented how lovely it is, and you put it up on the rack, and it's just yet another one of those horror stories that seem to come my way at an alarming rate. And yeah, the guys basically spent probably 20 grand too much for it with the repairs that are needed.
Best I could do is this barbecue sauce. It's
Sweet Baby Ray's.
Yeah, it's cold. It's cold.
It's cold. I'll put it. Let me help.
Oh, George, come on, dude.
Not really. You got to cool down somehow.
The first couple of swigs are harsh, I got to tell you, but after that, you know, it's fine.
Oh dear.
Um,
Oh, we could probably catch up. There
okay,
we go.
let's see.
Got a 67 Cougar with a small block shed, old drag car from the 80s.
Nice.
That's kind of cool.
How much has Kiwi had to drink? What are you drinking?
That's it. That's all. Just like water, sparkling water. More's the pity. I wish I'd had something stronger, but hey. Kiwi, is it normal for you to have to return everything to stock to diagnose the old iron? I seem to be finding a lot of modifications to cover small problems.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point. Returning it all to stock, no, but you have to make sure all of your bases are covered. And the first base is that all of the parts are kind of matched to each other. It's a little bit harder to diagnose stuff because you got to fly by the seat of your pants. It's a little bit harder to diagnose modified stuff, but you definitely don't have to return it to stock.
Where was that? Rescued and restored garage. Yep. How you doing, man? We're doing good here. Just a little hot. Kiwi, just an option. Ford should have used the Galaxy hardtop on the 64 Thunderbird instead of the ugly tall top. Yeah, that would be an improvement. Yeah, you're right. That would look quite smart.
Chris, Uncle Tony, Kiwi, I have a 71 satellite with left and right-handed lug nuts. When did they stop doing that? 71. Kiwi, drink your barbecue sauce.
Stellar Jet holiday here in New Zealand. What holiday is it today in New Zealand? God, that's how long I've been away from home. I've forgotten when the holidays are. I know it's not. Pretty sure
it might be the day you left.
Become a national holiday in celebration.
Every year they have a celebration.
Finally got rid of that guy. God damn.
They dress up in Indian garb and stuff like that. They burning,
sage
hula hoops and whatnot. Yeah.
Mr. Kiwi, 70 Torinos only came with Windsor and Lehman. Okay, I put FEs in them where even the shaker hood still fit. That's interesting because I had a 69 Torino back in my very, very much younger days. And that had been imported into New Zealand, and it had supposedly, according to the paperwork, which was New Zealand paperwork, supposedly it was a 428 Torino, 69. Which, if that's true, would put a hole in your theory about only had Windsors and Lemurs. But, when I got it, it had a 302 in it. Someone had pulled the 428, if it ever had one, because, you know how these stories go. I'm not smart enough to know whether Torinos did or didn't come with FEs, but I owned one that allegedly had one in it and was a factory 428 CJ. Check your fluids, Kiwi. Yeah, I'm about a pint low on bourbon at the moment, but hey.
Andrew Button says, yeah, 69 428 Torinos were a thing, as were the 429 and 70.
Oh, 70 did not, only 302s. Okay, well, there you go.
Let's see. Anthony should have said return to stock or remove the accessories. Second car in a short time that had a steering stabilizer to cover up bad front end parts. Yeah.
The only cars I've come across that really need a steering stabilizer are some of these four-wheel drives, with the big front live axle and loads of unsprung weight and just in poor suspension, and they need a steering desk.
I've got a crazy death wobble in my XJ, the red one.
It's not related to that knock, is it?
No.
It's a different thing.
Yeah, I don't. I think I just got maybe a loose tie rod end or something. I got to look at. But I just got a massive case of death wobble on the way over here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Let's see. Hey, are all you guys subbed to Kiwi's? What the fuck is your name of your channel again? Kiwi's
Kiwi Classics.
Commandos and
Commandos.
cookies and commandos.
Kiwi Classics and Customs.
Are you subscribed to that?
Hopefully. Kiwis, Canaries, and Cougars. Well, we got
Yes,
Cougars.
look, Zero says you're a free content provider.
Hey, you got to help a brother out, you know.
But you've only got 118 likes. You would think a man of your status, of your talent, of your articulate ways would have thousands of likes, but no, just 100.
Just 120.
Yeah.
Oh, well. CW, is it CW? Yeah, you're subbed, good man. I've just about hit 13,000 now. Well, like about 4 away from 13,000, so.
You're only 4 away from 13,000.
Yeah.
Come on, guys, we need 4 more subs here.
Let me check.
And I'll do this while you do that. Anthropic Android, thank you for the super chat. Picked up a Garage Cab 89 F350 crew cab for half market.
No, we're 9 away.
9 away.
9,
Come on, we need
1.
9 subs over there. Should I sell it as is, or is there another plateau I could bring a 460 dually to? Ooh, the thing is, when you get to those trucks, they're more utility. I think I know people modify them. They hot rod them. I see the 350s as like really being utility. I don't know. I'm probably the wrong person to ask that question to.
And just down the road from where I live, they just this last weekend they had a huge truck show, and there was some trucks there you could drive another car under. Like they were some high end stuff down there. So 89 F3, yeah. I mean, I tell you what, if you want to take it to another plateau, you better bring your A game, because some of the trucks that were down at that show were like seriously next level. Some people had spent a lot of money on them. But yeah, 89, like they're hard to find. Something that's garage kept in nice condition, while you got it at half market. I mean, that's a great start.
Mopar 1978 Death Wobble equal Jeep front stabilizer J-rod with ball joint on the end of it. I got to look at it tomorrow.
Yeah, there was one here. Kiwi. How tight should the oil rings be on a 428? I'm building one and have 3 pistons installed, and the crank is already pretty hard to turn. 19 top.
55.
Yeah.
How tight should the oil rings be on? I'm building one and have 3 pistons installed, and the crank is already pretty hard to turn. You got a problem, man. I would take, if you only got 3 pistons in, I would take the first one out, rotate it, see how, or take them all out. Yeah. I had one. I acquired a motor that had already been put together. It was 360, and you couldn't turn it. Like, you just could not turn this thing. You put a breaker bar on it, and it would not move. Like, I mean, you'd have to put all your weight on it, and it would just barely. So when they installed the oil rings on it, they had like they were butted. One of the oil rings, the expander had butted over, and they just assembled the motor like that. And it was like it was someplace in the middle of the engine, but I can't imagine how you could keep going assembling this motor, because you got to rotate it as you put it together, and it's just not moving. So I would take it back apart again and go through each one just to make sure. It could be something stupid like that.
And make sure it's not. So it was spinning pretty good with just the crank bolted, just the mains and the crank in there. Was it turning nice then? It's not. I asked that because a guy I knew went to put his, he was a home workshop guy and had never put an engine together, and he ended up with 3 of a particular type of engine. It was an old Mopar flathead. And he ended up with 3 of them, and he just picked the best bearings out and what appeared to be the best main caps.
Oh, jeez.
And mixed the main caps up on the block. And of course, once you took the main caps down, the crank wasn't not going to turn. There wasn't a breaker bar made that was going to turn that crank.
Well, let's assume that he got that far and he was able to rotate the crank.
But that's why I say check it once the crank's bolted into the block. Just make sure it's nice.
It's good practice.
It should have some resistance, but not much.
It's good practice to give the motor a rotation after every step. And it just becomes a second nature when you do this enough, because like you never know what you're going to find. So it's always a good practice to give the motor a revolution or two after you complete each step.
Now, Pirate Greg, Zoe Bell is Kiwi. Zoe. Now I know that name, Zoe Bell, and I've gone blank as to what what she did. I seem to think it's something to do with it's a like Olympic type sport, something she's involved in, but I honestly can't remember. But yeah, let me know.
I shot a man named Zoe Bell just to watch him die. I was like that, you know.
Ah, well, you know, what you gonna do? Andrew Burton, I've seen line bores get screwed up and it locks the crank.
Well, he was just saying that the crank spun okay.
Yeah, it seemed like the crank was turning okay, but once he got 3 pistons in, it wasn't okay. Keys 220 just bought a 68 Barracuda with a 360 LA and a 904, 8 1/4 inch rear. Will it be good as a daily driver on the highway?
Yeah.
Yeah, no reason it shouldn't be that. You know, it'll be probably a fairly tall rear gear if it's a stock 8 1/4. Yeah, that should be fine.
Yeah, well, somebody swapped the 8 1/4 into that.
Right.
Because that would only either have an 8 3/4 or a 7 1/4. So it's got an 8 1/4 in it. You got to check because some of those 8 1/4s have like 221 gears.
221?
Yep.
So what did the 8 1/4 go?
Say that again?
What did the 8 1/4? I know I'm familiar with the 8 3/4.
No, the 8 1/4
was what? What was that out of?
Some of them, if you go to like late 70s, like Diplomats and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
They had like a 221 gear. That's when they put the deeper first gear in the 904. So they went from like a 220 something to a 270 something first. And then at that point they went to the 221s in the rear. For, you know,
right.
Fuel economy.
Fuel mileage, yeah. Zach Kohler, 400M, stroked it out to a 434. Okay, I'm not sure whether I've missed part of that comment. 351 Cleveland has all pressure trouble when revved to more than 6,000 RPM on a regular basis.
Well, you define oil pressure trouble because that's like the vaguest thing you could possibly.
Yeah, is it surging? Is it low? Is it high? Is it like what is it?
Yeah. Do you have a windage tray of some sort in it? You know, what kind of oil pan is in it? Could be many things. Let's see. Tavo. Tony, built my engine 4 years ago and the rest of the project stalled. Haven't done first startup yet. Should I pull it down and relube everything again before I do start it? What did you lube it with the first time? Because if you use an actual assembly lube, I wouldn't worry about the bottom end. That'll stay in place. Even if you use like Motor Medic or STP, it'll stay in place. It's not going to go anywhere. The cam, you may want to look at the cam. You may want to look at the cam and recoat that if necessary. But yeah, I mean, I've put them together after they sat for long periods of time. I never had a problem. But yeah, you got it. So I mean, some people just like to use engine oil. You know, or they don't use any lube at all. I saw a very, very well-known engine builder here on YouTube that I'm sure all of you guys. And I watched a video where he had a guy assembling an engine in the shop, and he was putting the thing together dry, like completely dry, like nothing.
Wow.
So, you know, I don't know what was done on your engine.
Okay, so someone commented it was a holiday in New Zealand today, and I'm like, what's that for? So I'm actually now looking at my phone, and I'm getting shit from Mrs. Kiwi because it's the Maori New Year, which is our local Indigenous people.
Oh.
And the comment from my loving wife was, "You're supposed to be a Kiwi."
Well, he was, and then we got a hold of him, and now he's like American.
So yes, it's Maori New Year. So now you're all just that little bit more educated now.
Let's see.
Easy to tear down and relube. Why take a risk? Yep.
Lucas Hinderwood, Cleveland's had poor oil drain back causing high RPM starvation. Open up the drain holes in the valley. Possible too.
Okay, John M. Kiwi, can you explain to me the purpose of the coolant restrictor plate in a 351 Cleveland? How does blocking it help or hinder things? Look, the reason, I mean, it's like the thermostat. The thermostat also restricts the coolant flow. And that is the water, because your water pump is directly connected, you know, through a belt to your crank, the water pump speed varies obviously with your engine RPMs, and sometimes it's pumping too much.
Right.
It's a little bit like your oil pump. Like if you didn't have a bypass, like a relief valve on your oil pump, God, how many hundred psi would you be making?
Oh yeah, well
at 6,000 RPM, it would blow the oil filter to smithereens, and so what they do is they make a water pump that will pump the water around sufficiently at idle, and then as the speed comes up, the water starts to flow too fast, so they have a restrictor plate to slow it down because it can actually go through the radiator too fast. And that's a dumb thing that some people do, is they'll take the thermostat out to try and stop overheating, and it actually makes it worse. The restrictor plate is there. They obviously, they built the engine. They had an issue with it not cooling correctly, and they put a restrictor plate in, not because it helped them make more money, but because it made the engine better. They didn't, like, even the cost of making a restrictor plate at an engine manufacturer level is significant. There's an old story of Oldsmobile. They, back in the 60s or 70s, I think it was, they stopped painting the engine block. Right? You know why they stopped painting the engine block?
No, I've never heard of it.
It cost 87 cents to paint the engine block. 87 cents. And they were, we're not paying that. But they made millions of engines. So you make 1 million engines, and save 87 cents.
It's a middle manager's salary.
$870,000 they've just saved by doing less. That's just the paint, not the labor to paint it. So, like, the factories don't do these things for no reason. They don't do it for shits and giggles. They put a restrictor plate in because it needs it. So yeah, that it slows the water down, lets the water cool, spend a bit of time in the radiator, then it gets cool and heads off back to the motor.
The things that the factory does aren't always apparent, because a lot of times you don't push your stuff to the limit or in the way that it was originally designed to be pushed, right? So in other words, like, you may not ever operate your engine at 30 degrees below zero. Okay, so there are things that the factory may or may not have done to accommodate that. And when because it's out of your range of ever having to deal with it, you say, well, why did the factory do this? Why, this was a waste of time. This was a waste of money. But you have to realize that when they build these things, they design them. They have to be able to function in all circumstances. And as far as the restrictor goes, the thermostat is a restrictor, because the thermostat. So you start the engine, the thermostat's cold, it gets up to temperature, the thermostat opens. If you're watching the top of the radiator, you'll see the water start to flow, and then the water will stop flowing, and you're assuming that the thermostat is opening and closing. But it only opens and closes a couple of times. Once the engine's at operating temperature and you've got a uniform temperature through the coolant, then that thermostat always hangs open a certain amount and just acts as a restrictor to flow.
That's right. So Mrs. Kiwi is having a field day today.
Is that Mrs. Kiwi?
No.
Oh.
That's Zoe Bell.
Oh.
Someone said about mention Zoe Bell.
I was going to say, Mrs. Kiwi is looking quite the woman here today.
Oh, she's prettier than her. Absolutely, yeah.
Oh no, she's not that good looking. Oh no, Mrs. Kiwi is definitely better looking than that. I'm
Zoe
sorry.
Bell is a Kiwi.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Kiwi. You're better looking than she is.
She was a stunt woman, a New Zealand-born stunt woman who doubled for Uma Thurman in Kill Bill and for Lucy Lawless, who was also a Kiwi. Lucy Lawless, have you seen a Warrior Princess?
Before she had the accident? Because it looks like she may have pushed her luck a little too far in a stunt or two. Yeah.
But Lucy Lawless, on the other hand, she was pretty cute. If any of you ever watched Warrior Xena Princess, but yeah.
No, I missed that one.
Yeah. That was a very popular show.
I know ABBA.
Yeah. Who doesn't know ABBA? Good Lord.
That was, they were good. Agnetha, right? Was that her name?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. What have you done?
I don't know.
You've screwed it up.
I wonder how she's aged. Agnetha must be she's got to be like 80 years old now.
She must be pushing it, yeah.
But she was hot today.
Oh, yeah, she was. Yeah, she was. Now we need to catch up. We froze the screen. There we go.
You know any ABBA songs?
Yes, I do, but I ain't going to sing it.
Why?
Because I can't sing.
Dude, it'll be your debut.
I'm as good at singing as you are at bodywork.
Do you guys want to hear Kiwi do some ABBA?
No, you can promise 300,000 subs. I ain't singing. I'll tell you that. Mrs. Kiwi, Chris
That is yours.
Cadman. Kiwi likes pineapple on pizza with no cheese. That's correct. It's true.
Yeah, that's wrong.
I don't know why she's mentioning that.
That's just
Somebody
bad.
must have asked. Yeah, cheeseless pizzas are a bit odd, but hey, I'm on. What are you going to do? Lucy Lawless still looks great. There you go. You heard it from Lucas Hindwood.
Andrew Barton, Kiwi, can you hear the drums, Fernando?
No. Hey, let's get off this me singing topic, can we? Seriously though, how difficult is it to put 351 Cleveland heads on a 302? Well, which 302, Cleveland or a Windsor? If it's on a Windsor, yes, it's a little bit harder, but it's definitely doable. You can actually buy from Edelbrock a Cleveland head kit to go on a 302 Windsor or a 351 Windsor. That's very easy to do. To put actual Cleveland heads on a Windsor, there's a little bit of plumbing work to be done as far as, you got to block off some water passages and some things that, not big stuff, but, it's a little bit of work, but it's not bad.
Olive wants to know if I'll do backing vocals if you do take a chance on me. I won't do backing vocals. I can't sing, but I will do an interpretive dance.
Oh, my God.
So if he wants to sing, I'll dance to it.
Oh, Lord. If Kiwi sings, will Tony hug him?
No. No.
Oh, goodness. Good thing we're like hardcore car people and all we ever talk about is cars, right?
Well, I have some lyrics for you. You're the dancing king. You're the dancing Kiwi, young and sweet. Feel the beat of the big machine. Oh, yeah, you can wrench, you can drive, having the time of your life.
Oh,
there you go.
God.
Can you sing that?
No, I can't.
Ah, jeez.
Who's this? Kiwi has a big head. Kiwi is odd and has a big head. Well, I mean, you're probably correct on both counts there. But yeah, I do. I mean, I lean into the camera a bit more. See, are we the same size head now?
No, we don't have the same size head. Your head is
It's
huge.
small. I got a big head. What can I do? You know what that say about people with big heads?
Well, you got all that brain in there, bro. I mean,
Well, yeah, there is that. But a Windsor is better overall. Look, I think so, yeah. But there's going to be Cleveland diehards that say I'm an idiot. So what are you going to do?
He's a Kiwi. Got to fit that intelligence somewhere. That's what I say. He's like the border collie of humans.
Stevie B, I'll take the Cleveland. Good on you, bud. Both good engines. Yeah. I just like the Windsor really because it's a bit smaller.
Oh yeah, Zero. Die, right? I checked them out. That's a good band. That's a good band. So the other morning I was having my coffee and I was like, and because I remember that. So I listened to them and then my suggestions comes up the Jim Carroll band, People Who Died. You remember that one? You didn't have really good punk rock back in the 70s in New Zealand, did you?
They were trying.
They were trying?
They were trying, but yeah, not really. How's the what's this? I saw rust. How's the rust situation in New York City? I'm from Nova Scotia and it's horrible. Yeah, I'm in Alberta now and it's like a dream, no rust.
It's been
New York's bad.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
I escaped there 20 years ago, so I have no idea what's going on in that zoo.
Wayne Ferguson, what is the future of cars?
Kiwi is the future of cars.
Dean Stevenson's quoting his lyrics, and I'm like, what? Kiwi can pay someone to dress up as a Kiwi and dance outside the shop with ABBA playing on a loudspeaker. There's more chance of that happening than me singing. My daughter can sing. She's got a fantastic voice, but I don't know where she got it from, whether it was the postman or what it was, but it wasn't me.
Okay. Let's see. Hemihead, what's happening, brother? Zero put up the link to the Jim Carroll band.
Oh, yeah.
See, you know, a lot of people don't realize. Like, so we start in New York City. We start young. Like we were young when we were. You know, if you listen to that song, you get an idea just how crazy stuff was. If you were like, even before you're a teenager, you know what I mean? Like when you're 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, you were out there doing shit, right? And it was a whole different world than it is today. But that song is so 1970s New York. Like that's where I grew up. That's my, you know.
Truck This Garage. Can at Truck This Garage get a shout out?
Yes.
Yes, here's a shout out to Truck This Garage.
Aganitha is 73.
73.
Is she hot still?
I guess it depends. If you're 75, maybe she is.
I'm 60. I'm
That's
61.
what I mean, but if you were 75, she probably would look hot.
Yeah, everything is relative, isn't it?
It is. It is. Charlotte Quillen started drinking at 13 and smoking at 14.
Now, I started smoking at 10. I'm smoking for 51 years.
Whew. I never smoked. Never smoked.
It's okay. It's
Tried
all
it.
right. Don't
Tried
feel
it.
bad.
Didn't like. Oh, I don't.
Drink your barbecue sauce. You look hot.
You have to get some AC in here, brother.
John, Kiwi, Tony, did any Ford parts go into the Javelin AMXs? The starter relay.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
Wait, okay. Starter relay. I think they use an Autolite or a Motorcraft carburetor on those. Could be wrong. I don't know. What else was there? The coil. There's a Ford coil. Was the charging system GM? I think the charging system is. I don't know. It's been such a long time since I screwed those cars.
And here's one. Chris Cadman. Jerry Lee Lewis was a punk rocker.
Jerry Lee Lewis?
She was a huge fan of Jerry Lee Lewis as Mrs. Kiwi. She just loves him.
Does she really?
Oh, yeah, she thinks he's
great balls of fire.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
she'd like to find out if that's true or not.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, she's a huge fan.
Maury, that's crazy. I never knew you'd be into Jerry Lee Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
There she is. What'd she say?
See, two can play the game of shit stirring. Oh, hang on. There we go. Your failing eyesight is why I love you, Tony.
It's not just the eyes that are failing. Everything behind the eyes is on its way out, too. This is like my last grasp of, like, you know, lucidity.
Jerry Lee married his 13-year-old cousin. That's right, he did.
That's right, he did.
He did. Wasn't she a second cousin or something?
It was okay back then.
Yeah.
It was okay back then.
I think it's still okay in West Virginia, isn't it?
When I was a kid growing up in New York, the legal age of consent was 14.
Oh, well.
Let's see. No one follows the killer. Jerry Lee was a friggin' badass. J. Russell Finch. So much is made of the 741 Pinion being the weakest of the bunch, but I've never seen one fail. Have either of you? Yes, but not in any sort of normal application. It was a truck that I saw it fail in. And I didn't actually watch it fail, but it came to me. This is like years ago. It came to me as a mechanic with the yoke spun off the end of it. But no, and under normal circumstances, no, you're not going to.
So Moborn 20, Kiwi, do you any of your own primer paint prep? No, I don't do any of my own one. No, I use primer paint prep. No. Primers, there's a few different ones that I use. Paint prep. Paint prep's paint prep. I'm not sure whether you're meaning that's the same thing or a different. I'm not quite getting your question, to be honest with you, bud. No one follows the killer, that's right. See, Mrs. Kiwi's going to like you. She loves Jerry Lee.
Sir Crashlight, how long have you guys been married to each other?
Where is it? I've lost it. Where does it say that? Kiwi.
Right there. Sir Crash a lot.
I presume he's talking about us.
Yeah, that's what he's. Yeah.
Married. Oh, shit, mate. 12 or 14 years now.
He gives me these looks, and like this is a weird extended eye contact that really freaks me out sometimes. So like, let's not joke about this stuff, okay? Franz H. Tony, does it get cool enough where you are to ice up carburetors in the winter? Up in the Great White North, bypassing the carb warming devices causes issues in daily drivers. It gets down into the teens and zeros here, like a couple of weeks out of the winter, but for the most part now we stay like in the 30s generally, which is enough to ice up. It's cold enough, actually the 40s. You could probably ice up a carburetor in the low 40s given the right circumstances. Oops.
That's it. Okay. Kiwi, did you know Jerry Lee is Jimmy Swaggart's brother? I knew they were connected, related somehow, but I wasn't aware that he was his brother. Really?
Sure.
Now we know why Tony's feeling sexy tonight.
Yeah, this is really weird. Okay, really weird. Shoehorn Jackson, what's your views on shot peening? Back in the day, man, that was the big thing. You had to have your rods shot peening and stuff. Now, when was the last time you heard anybody shot peening rods?
Back in my rallying days, it was very popular, and I actually believe it works. I really do.
Well, it tightens up the molecules.
Well, it relieves stress as well, or it evens the stress.
Okay.
By basically hammering the surface, so it relieves it evens out any stress points and that kind of thing. So I think it does work. Is it does it mean you can make 800 horsepower on a stock rod? No. But for a reasonably small investment, it does strengthen the rods you've got. The trouble is, as time's gone by, the decades have passed, labour's become much more expensive, and to get shot peening done now, shot peening is pretty labour intensive.
Well, it's not just
and
that.
You can buy good rods cheap now,
right?
Ready to go. So why mess with it? And I think that's why it's died away.
Right. Back in the day, when you were dealing with mostly assembly line parts, I'm talking about like the 70s and the 80s. You had, GM guy, you had to have the pink rods, right? But back then, you were dealing with mostly assembly line stuff. So things like shot peening were a good measure to fortify your stock parts. But over the last 20 or 30 years, there's so many different rods on the market that are of a higher quality, race prepped rods, that it's kind of not done anymore. It's kind of like the whole cryogenic thing was big for a bit back in like the middle 80s. I mean, I'm sure people still do it, but it was the fad.
This is interesting. Dave B.
Like
saying
shot peen rods
every day. Well, that's really interesting, but there's still a market for it. I just have been out of that. The guy I used to deal with when I was rallying, that was decades ago. So it's not something I've even really thought about for a long time. But it's interesting if it's still going on.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it's done someplace, but it's not the standard procedure anymore across the board.
My guess would be, and you could confirm it, Dave, is that it's for classes that have to have stock rods,
right.
Stock this, type some sort of class where you're limited on what you can put in. That would be my guess.
Who is that now? Dave.
I thought Shot Peen was a porn actor. Could it be? It's not a bad name for a porn star.
Max Wedge rods were shot peen from the factory. Yep. 71 Roadrunner 426 or 440. Discuss 440. Don't waste your time, energy, or effort on a 426. Throw a 440 with a 6-pack on there and smile every day. Oh, Dave B, not the kind of rods you are thinking of.
Oh,
well, that throws a whole different.
That clears it up completely. Now we have no idea what you're talking about.
So what kind of rods do you shot peen every day?
Charlotte Quillen, the shot peen.
Hot in here. It's getting hotter, Kiwi.
The shot peen machine was called a wheel obrator. Really? Haven't heard that one.
I don't know.
Aussie Hemi 6-packs rods with shot peen? Probably, yeah. 6-pack abs. See Kiwi shirt. 6-pack abs coming soon. Once I learn how to do a sit-up, we might get a 6-pack, but I've yet to master that particular challenge.
D-Control 1982. Question on subframe connectors. Kiwi recommends them and Tony does not, under certain circumstances. Is it fair to say that full welding kits that integrate the floor pan to avoid the problems illustrated in Tony's video?
Which video was this?
I did a video on the case against frame connectors.
Oh, okay.
And so if you have a car that's used all the time,
Yeah.
a unibody car that's held together with spot welds.
Yeah.
When you tie the frame rails together, you're tying the center of the car rigid.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not allowing it to have the normal flex that it does. So any impact or any movement is now confined to the very front and the very back of the car, which would naturally fatigue those joints beyond what they were supposed to oversee. Because the unibody spot welded car is supposed to move.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, there's some logic to that, to what you're saying. Because you strengthen something somewhere, and it leads to a weak point somewhere else.
I had, I don't think I mentioned it in this video, but I had a parts car. It was a Duster or a Demon, one I don't remember, but it was that body style car. That was a street car that they had frame connectors in, and the whole car was shot. It was just, it was roached, but the whole front bulkhead. So they had welded frame connectors, right? And they had sheet metal attaching it to the floor. So this thing was like not moving. Okay?
Right.
But the whole front bulkhead area, where the frame rails and the outers tie together, was all cracked, and the spot welds popped. So looking at the situation, I'm like, okay, well, this is a car that went through a lot of movement. Yeah. You know what I mean? But eventually, that stiff section caused the front frame rails to coke can. Fatigue and eventually crack.
Yeah. Okay. I guess, it depends a lot on how many miles you're doing, what kind of miles, what kind of horsepower. There's some variables in there, but I know from my perspective, certainly on the Mustangs, they flex a lot.
That might be a bit, yeah.
And personally, it's a must do on a Mustang. That's my belief. So.
But you look at the Mustang, right?
Yep.
And the frame rails, very, very flimsy. It's a thinner gauge metal than the Chrysler's used on their unibodies. So wouldn't that exacerbate the problem if you're only tying together the center, but you're leaving the stock frame rails and the stock suspension mounting points? Wouldn't that kind of exacerbate the thin metal and cause it to flex even more?
Good. I'll be honest with you. I haven't really thought about it from that point of view, and you do have a point.
Well, this is why I make the big bucks.
That's why you make the big bucks. I think long term, you're transferring the issue like Mustangs flex and crack.
Yeah.
And so you fix that problem, but ultimately, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So eventually, it's going to move somewhere else.
I was in for a limited use performance car. Yeah, why not? You tie it together because you're not. But if it's something that's going to actually go out and see the road and it's going to see all the heating and cooling cycles, expansion and contraction, and going over bumps and dips and everything else, I would leave the thing flexed away the engine. Think of it this way. Just think of it this way, okay? The people who designed these cars, all right? And these engineers, these guys were a lot smarter than you think. You know what I mean? They really knew what they were doing. They really thought through every circumstance. If there was any benefit to tying the center of the car together to be used on a day, don't you think they would have done it? I mean, it's the simplest thing in the world. Just add 2 boxes and make this thing stiff and good. Why didn't they do it? They didn't do it because the unibody car has to be, you have to have give. That's why you don't have continuous welds. That's why it's spot welds, because spot welds will allow the thing to move and flex, but a continuous weld will fatigue crack alongside the weld. So, you have to really think about stuff. That's the biggest, my biggest gripe with modifications, a lot of modifications, is that people do not think the whole thing through. It's like, well, this will be better, you know what I mean? And it's, but at what cost? What are you sacrificing? Why did the factory do it this way to begin with? Do your research to figure out why they did things before you go ahead and modify them.
Tavo Garage, actually, that's a really good comment, Tavo. Only use connectors if you need to, not for ego purposes.
Yes.
They're not it's not a bragging right, like having subframe connectors. What you're saying, and that I back up completely on that. The Ford guy or whoever the designers designed these things, but on the Mustang, they progressively added torque boxes over the first 5 years of their production because they were having problems.
But the weight increased. The weight of the car kept increasing, the size of it and the weight of it.
But the early ones, the 65 6s, the early ones had real trouble with body cracking.
Yeah.
And frame rails cracking because they were flexing down the length of them.
A little too much.
So they added torque boxes, and the Mustang was a very light car for its day. It's part of the reason it went well. I mean, like my Mustang with 750 horse, that needs to be tied together, and the frame rails are beefed, and everything's beefed on it.
Okay, let's see.
2-inch angle iron was used to repair the front of the first gen Mustangs. Yeah, I've seen that. And I mean, it wasn't a pretty fix, but it was a fix.
Okay, would the factory not use them because they need to meet noise, vibration, harshness requirements? Bro, back in these days, when these cars were designed, there were no noise, vibration, harshness. People just dealt with the machine as it was, right? So that wasn't really an issue. But that's besides the point. It doesn't increase anything as far as that wasn't the reason.
Andrew Button. Ford hired lots of crew from the Kleenex company to design that unibody in '62. That's funny.
Charlotte Quillen, factory engineers are so good they couldn't come up with a heat shield to put the 383 in the dark. Charlotte, that is the biggest bullshit story that ever happened. I did an entire half-hour video on that like last week or 2 weeks ago called Did Mr. Norm Really Outsmart the Engineers or something like that. Go watch that video. That heat shield thing is the biggest crock of shit that never happened.
Tell us how you really feel, Tony.
I hate that. It's just these, it's just bullshit. It just gets cycled over and over and over again.
That happens. Dean's on a music kick tonight.
Dean's on some kind of kick. He's always on some kind of kick.
Franz H. The spot welds are done for the same reason a plane is riveted together. Yep, you're right. Got to have a certain amount of flex.
Got to have flex. So when you have something that's, let's say it's 16 feet long and it's intended to flex over that 16 feet, okay, and now you tie the center of it rigid so it can't move. Well, all of that flex, because the road forces don't change, the suspension movement doesn't change, and the way that those forces are transferred to the frame portions doesn't change, but the ability for it to give and absorb that does change. So now you're taking all of the forces that are supposed to be spread over 16 feet, and now you're going to spread them over 3 feet at either end of the car. And now you tell me what the long-term repercussions of that are. Next.
Kiwi, you sure your shirt should say keg coming soon? Well, I'm halfway to a keg. Just takes perseverance to build that.
A lot of dedication.
Yeah. Minton made muscle. Like, he loves watching top fuel directions in slow motion. The flex is insane. Yeah.
That flex is there for a reason.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember reading a thing on construction, and they were using big I-beams building this huge building. And they weren't strong enough, so they welded diamond-shaped plates, like at fairly close intervals in the vertical part of the I-beam, and which stopped them flexing too much. They started breaking. They made them too rigid. So you end up putting a bigger beam in.
Well, have you ever walked across like a longer suspension bridge?
Yeah.
And the movement is just like, or even a skyscraper. You ever been like high, like the World Trade Center?
On a windy day?
Or the World Trade Center. Jeez, that's gone for a long time, right? But yeah, if you're up on like a high skyscraper, that thing is moving around like crazy. But that's how it's supposed to be. If you made it rigid, it would just blow over.
It would snap.
Right.
Snap and blow over. Dean Stevenson, happy Buddha, bro. Your missus loves you, Kiwi. I got a very abusive comment on my phone about Julie Lewis, actually, because the truth of the matter is she absolutely hates Julie Lewis. And I quite like him, so I play him every now and again on my playlist, and she's like, I'm not listening to this shit. So I was just having a little dig at her expense. So for the record, Mrs. Kiwi does not like Julie Lewis, and I don't think it's anything to do with him marrying his cousin, I think she just doesn't like him.
Doesn't like him.
What are you going to do? CW, just kidding, Kiwi. I get it, man.
Charlotte Cole, Tony, I watched that video and left a comment on it. I just want to know why Norm tells that story. Because Norm was a showman. Norm was the least mechanically oriented guy you could possibly imagine. And I don't know why he told that story. He told lots and lots of stories, but he was a salesman. He was a promoter. He was a businessman. He was not a mechanic. There might have been something he heard that he misinterpreted, or one of his guys working for him might have said, hey, we had to put a heat shield on there. I mean, whatever it happens to be, but it's nonsense.
Mopar man, knew a guy in my area that had a Vega that has a chubby 383 stroker.
Chubby.
Chubby. I'm guessing he means Chevy, but
I mean, now with Mopar,
hopefully he's not talking about his chubby. Brags about being a self-taught welder. Did he use a flux core welder?
Tacoma Narrows Bridge. That's that one that just eventually it
fell apart. Yeah, I know the one you mean. Yeah, just got a real whip on it and just went down. It could be, yeah.
Richard Pelvin, good example of flex is the XJ. If you've had that off-road, not many four-wheel drive unibodies out there. But the XJ is known to be like the toughest thing, right? Bill McKeiska, thank you for the super chat. What is the most practical setup for a hot rod work truck? Needs the high performance at times for towing and hauling, but also needs to be happy running around the interstate. 6-pack or something like a quadra-jet. Ooh.
Don't know that I'd go with a 6-pack for towing and hauling, and he's doing everything there.
I mean, the 6-pack is, remember now, in a 6-pack, you're only dealing with a 350 CFM 2-barrel. It's just a little bit bigger than the primaries on a quadra-jet.
Right.
If you stop and think about it.
True, yeah.
Geez, Bill, I don't know.
So why is everyone so scared of 6-packs? Like, that's my impression, because I don't know much about them, to be fair. But what I hear around the traps is, 6-packs, you're forever tuning them and you never get them to run right. Yeah. And I hear a lot of negative feedback about 6-packs.
The biggest problem with the 6-pack is getting the secondaries to open quickly enough and not bug.
Right.
All right. That's the only tuning issue with the 6-pack. The secondary carburetors just have simple jet plates on them, just like any vacuum secondary carburetor.
Right.
The center carburetor has just the normal, it has jets and a power valve. There's nothing crazy about that. The only, quote, real tuning issue you come across with a 6-pack is getting the carburetors to open smoothly, quickly, and not bug.
Right.
It's hard because they just want to flop open. And the easiest way to get about that, 6-pack carburetor, 6-pack setup, don't bother with the Chrysler carbs. Forget the Chrysler carbs. Go with a set of Ford carbs. You use the Ford carbs that they put on the 406s and the bigger one on the 406.
428?
Tri-power. No, they had the tri-power. It doesn't matter. The Ford carburetors, the 406 tri-power Ford carburetors, those are the ones you want to use because those are mechanical secondaries with mechanical. They have accelerator pumps in the secondaries. They have jets. So it's 3 primary carburetors is what it is. And they're exactly the same setup as a bolt runner. If you went to the direct connection dealer in 1972 or 1973 and you ordered a set because you wanted carburetors for a 6-pack, you could either get the replacement carburetors that were the vacuum secondary ones or the upgrade carburetors, and the upgrade carburetors were the mechanical secondaries that they used on the Fords. So that's the hot setup for like a foolproof 6-pack setup that there's never any problem tuning. An instant response every time is you go with the Ford carburetors.
So going back to Bill's question, I mean, it varies a little bit whether, you're building a Ford truck, Mopar truck, Chevy truck.
Well, you're saying a 6-pack, so I'm pretty sure.
Probably going to be Mopar. Yeah, true. Fair point.
I like 6-packs. They're fun. I would tend to go with that.
Yeah, I'd definitely go big block for sure. One thing about a truck is having a big cubic inches help a truck.
Oh yeah.
Especially for towing. Like there's no substitute for displacement. Yeah, like a little Hemi, modern Gen 3 Hemi is not necessarily a great towing. You're going to get the late model Hemi, get the biggest one that they're making, the 6.4 or whatever it is.
Okay. Let's see. He is a butcher. Oh, I hope you're talking about me. Andrew Button, our A12 had a mechanical linkage versus factory vacuum, and it worked fine. If your A12 had mechanical linkage, you had the Ford carburetors on there. Let's see. But I get to the point with these. So I try to read the.
Buzzing the tower. I think it was someone was talking about that motorbike that just went by.
Alan McElroy, for one single 4-barrel, do you prefer mechanical secondaries or vacuum? I prefer mechanical. He'll say vacuum, because he has to be different than me. He has to be, you know what I mean? He's got it. But
there you go. So Ed Petrick, we got us a Mopar guy, a Ford guy. Can't wait till next Thursday when a Chevy guy joins you guys.
We have a Chevy guy coming?
Not that I'm aware of.
Who's coming next week with a Chevy?
I don't know. We've asked a few Chevy guys, but they're too scared to show up.
I'll have to hide all of the good stuff.
They don't want to kind of do battle with us.
No, they can't. They can't.
Yeah, 6-pack weren't hard on gas if you could keep your foot out of it.
Well, that's the problem.
That's the contradiction in terms, isn't it? Like you put a 6-pack on for fuel economy, or you put a 6-pack on to go fast. Yeah.
The problem is it just feels. My favorite part of a 6-pack. So forget about what I was talking about mechanical secondaries, because the mechanical secondaries work really good. My favorite part of a 6-pack, and this is going to sound completely fucking crazy, right?
Mm.
My favorite part of the 6-pack is for the vacuum secondary one. When you take your foot off of it, it keeps going for an instant. If you have, I don't know why, but from the very first time I drove one of those, like 40 years ago to today, that's still kind of my favorite part. The secondaries flop open, and then you let off the gas, but it stays running. It stays pulling for like a half second afterwards.
Just gets the heart rate up that little bit.
I can't explain it to you. It's just a little.
Oh my God, I'm gonna die. That's okay.
I can't explain it. Well, you guys who have 6-pack, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I may have to put a 6-pack on that Charger, just for that.
Here we go.
Oh.
Anthropic Android. Thanks for your super chat. The A game is what worries me on the F350 tow rig. Mild camming, light turbo can bring the 460 to over 500 horsepower, but 89 has got the face of a Taurus. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, mild camming, a small turbo, 500 horsepower. That's good, but I mean, that's as far as I would go with it. I don't know.
But you can get 500 horsepower out of a 460 without putting a turbo on it.
I think he's talking about keeping it like a low compression, stock internals.
Yeah. There's a few ways of getting there, but you really need to decide on just what sort of horsepower you want. If you're towing, torque is what pulls you up the hill. Whether you got a weight on the back, it's torque. It's all about torque. And turbos, give you torque, no doubt.
The cam is going to be real critical on that. Yeah. I would talk to a couple of cam grinders and be very specific of exactly what you want to do, exactly what you want to accomplish, because that's going to be a major part of it.
Thing is, too, like, you're wanting to do several things with it, and if you're trying to do a bunch of different stuff with it, you're going to end up compromising. Like if you want it just for towing, you put a towing cam in it. You'll put a towing carburation setup on it. You'll build it for torque. But if you want it to go fast when you're unloaded, you've got to give up some of that towing ability.
And you're moving so much tonnage. Something like that. You're moving big, heavy axles, big, heavy everything. It's like you know, yeah, you got to make a lot of horsepower to make something like that fun to drive. You know what I mean? You know, obviously it's easy enough to increase its towing capability, the bottom end torque, its grunt. Okay, yeah, you could do that, but to actually go so far with an F350 that you're going to make it like, you know, wahoo! I hit the gas and things just happen, right? Man, you got to spend a lot of money, and I wouldn't go too far. I would focus just on its practical abilities.
I'll probably stroke it out to like 500, a little bit over 500 cubes. Was me, and just leave it normally aspirated.
Kiwi, you only have 170 people approve of you. You see that? Yeah, I know if I was doing this by myself, there's like 270 watching. I know I'd be well over 400 likes by now. You see how that number's on your side? I have the higher number on my side, and your number is yeah. So they don't like it, Kiwi. They say they do.
Okay, guys, put it to a vote. Do I stay or do I go? Tony, I almost got killed in the passenger seat in the yellow 70 Twister 340 6-pack with 7,500 RPM stuck throttle. That would have been an exciting ride.
Well, that wouldn't have been a Twister, man. That would have been a Duster. The Twister was either a slant 6 or a 318. There was no 340 Twisters. I know too much. I know too much about these cars, Kiwi. I think I may have a problem.
I think we've all got a problem.
LH Metalworks. Tony, I commented on the Virago video about dropping the front on the forks. 20-millimeter drop sharpens the steering nicely. I might try that. I might do that tomorrow, actually. Chris says, I go. You stay, I go.
There you go. Kiwi equals approved. There we go. See? We need one of the moderators to count the votes, just to keep it fair, you know.
Paul Pajohi. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that last name. Pajohi. Sorry, guy. Tony, is 1 4-ounce bottle of limited slip additive enough for 12-bolt Camaro rear end? Yes. All it is that, you know what that is? That's fish oil. It's fish oil. It's actually the same stuff, essentially the same stuff that's in WD-40. It's fish oil. But yeah, 4 ounces will do it.
Chris Cadman, Kiwi has an accent like someone from New Zealand. Funny that, yeah. Dominic, thanks, man. Kiwi stays. He's a great guy. Thank you.
What's on the beat?
Keep telling my wife that, but I haven't convinced her yet.
Twister was the slant 6 of 318, had the looks, but was an insurance pleaser. So the thing about the Twister is that it was more than, as far as visually goes, it was more than the 340 car, because the Twister had everything in it. You know, all of the visuals, the shark tooth grill. There was 71 was when they brought them out, not 70. But they had the shark tooth grill. They had every bit of the dress up you could get on the 340 Duster, but it also had the twin scoops that they used on the Dodges in 69 and 70s. So that was something you couldn't get on any 340 car. So there was like one option you could get on the Twister that you couldn't get on the regular Duster. Loud pipe saves less. Oh, my friend Pete has a. Have you seen this guy, my friend Pete?
No, I haven't.
Oh, geez, you gotta watch him.
Yeah.
The guy's nuts.
Really?
He's great. I could work with him for sure.
DIY Auto School, the Rustang series he's working on is epic.
I gotta check that out. I haven't seen that.
My friend Pete. Okay, I'm gonna go check him out.
My friend Pete.
Hey, you know, it doesn't hurt to look. Like, he might know something about Mustangs that I don't. It's quite, you know. Hey, you never know.
He's a trip. He's a trip. Tavo says, to be honest, Kiwi, you're losing the New Zealand accent. You're starting to sound more like an Aussie. Aussie. How do you say that? Aussie or
Aussie?
Aussie.
You might be right there. I know when I talk to guys back home, the Kiwis back home, and like they sound really different now. It's like, good Lord, do I sound like that? It's kind of odd, but no, I'm definitely losing some of my accent, because when I first opened the shop, like people would come in, you'd be talking to them, and you'd see them just glaze over. They're like, what the? frick is he talking about? You could like see it in their eyes, and then you'd have to just repeat yourself without being asked, like, and they go, oh, I get, and you have to talk a bit slower, and like, but not too slow, like you're talking to an idiot. It was a tricky time, but I don't get that so much now. And like my early days here, like talking to people on the phone, it's like forget about it, like it just didn't work.
I remember when I met you, what, about 12
Yeah,
years ago,
something like
13
that,
years
yeah.
ago? Yeah,
Yeah.
and I remember you was very hard to understand.
So yeah, my accent's definitely changed, but yeah, more like an Aussie, I guess.
Charlotte Quillen says Lou Costable has video on the 70 Duster Twister 340. Charlotte, tell Lou Costable he's fucking wrong. There is no such thing as a 70 Twister. Does not exist and absolutely did not have a 340. You could not get the whole point of the reason they called it a Twister is because it was a twist on it. It was the low performance car with all of the high performance looks. That's why they called it a Twister. So no, Lou Constable or whatever the hell his name is there is wrong. Period. The end. Okay. Is that enough? Why do I get so upset about stuff like that?
I don't know.
I must have a problem,
So-
Kiwi. I really think I'm starting to reflect now. I'm starting to get self-reflective.
Really,
I'm having a moment of clarity
bit
and
of
realizing
personal awareness.
I may have taken this shit too far. I may have taken all of this too far. I need to rethink things.
Your thought process would be clearer if it was 40 degrees cooler as well.
Well, that's possible. Heat stroke. You think I've got heat stroke? Okay.
At zero, it's talking about WD-40. Apparently, that 40. Did you know what the 40 stands for in the WD-40?
It's the 40th.
40th.
Yeah,
Yeah,
shot at it.
yeah.
Right.
Tavo, that wasn't intended as an insult. No, it wasn't taken as an insult, but yeah, when I think about it, you're kind of right. And I can't tell you how it's changing, but yeah, my accent is changing.
Charlotte Cullen, I'm looking at it. It says Duster, Valiant, and Twister on the same coat. Well, it may say that, and somebody might have put stickers on the friggin' thing, but it didn't happen. Let's stop this now. This is silly.
Dean Stevenson, my favourite Kiwi word with a U is cunt. But the way I say it, it's impolite. I think the way I say it sounds a bit impolite.
How's that?
Well, you can't do that.
Oh, I've heard. Yeah, a little bit.
You've got to say can't do that. But we seem to say can't do that.
I cannot do that.
Which it's CANT, just so I'm not offending Facebook, hopefully. Facebook, YouTube.
Hemihead 68. Did many cars come with a rare alligator vinyl top? Not too many. It was an option, but I've only come across a handful of them. There was a Limelight, well, Sublime Limelight 70 Roadrunner when I was a kid that had a Gainer Green, and I fell in love with this car. I wanted this car in the worst way, and I couldn't afford it back then.
Tony, you need to wear a black shirt. That red shirt gives you clarity.
That's what it is, Charlie. Charlie, do you remember the green 70 Roadrunner that was running around, right, with the Gator Green? It was about the time that we were hanging out. Wait, you came with me to look at the car. It was below the boulevard. It was below the boulevard in like Oakwood or right around there. Do you remember what I'm talking about, Charlie? Or did I freaking hallucinate this? Because I might have hallucinated it. It's hot in here.
Somewhere. Danny Boyd, some old timers swear by putting WD-40 on aching joints.
I've done it.
Really?
I've done it. Yeah, it doesn't really help. Or maybe it's a very minor effect, but I have arthritis everywhere from injuries, right?
Right.
So I have at times attempted to spray things down with WD-40, and it doesn't really work.
I'm not quite sure, and I'm sure it makes you very unpopular at home. I know it would at my house.
Oh, you'd be surprised how much shit goes around.
Yeah, Kathy's a special case.
She's
though.
used to
had to make so many
she's good through
exceptions.
hell.
She's had to make so many exceptions for you.
She's good through hell.
Yeah. Tony's creating a thermonuclear reaction over there to light a cigarette. Broke Joker ATV. Did you hear Dodge is supposedly making an inline 6 twin turbo and it should be over 1200 horse?
Oh, yes, but they're not making that's that Hurricane 6 that they're doing, or Typhoon 6, right? It's something they got a name for it. Yes, it's got two small turbochargers that are actually integral in the head, so that the turbocharger bolts directly to the head, and there's two of them, but it doesn't make no 1200 horsepower. And they've got them in the oh God, what do they call the Grand Cherokee? Not the Grand Cherokee, the big Cherokee. It's yeah, big.
Somebody said WD-40 for hemorrhoids. Oh my God. That sounds brutal. Hang on, Tony. Started my Rebel motor and it ate up the cam. I used a synthetic oil and zinc additive. Several shops told me that the detergent protect the metal from the zinc. Is that true?
Grand Wagoneer, thank you. And yes, Charlie, it was down there off of Mill Road. And go back to that. So, bro, I'm so sorry you wiped out your cam. No, listen, Google wiped out cams, okay, because it's an epidemic, and we have found them with bad surface hardening. We found them with no taper in the lobe. We found them with no crown on the lifter. We found all sorts of issues. Don't blame it on the oil. I seriously doubt that anything to do with the oil.
I wouldn't. What do you think about the same? But I wouldn't use a synthetic oil.
No, I wouldn't either. No,
it's too slippery.
Yeah, I wouldn't use it either. But
I typically use just a cheap mineral oil, just the cheapest stuff. O'Reilly's has got.
But the zinc additive.
The zinc additive should help the lift.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame the oil for that. It probably wasn't, bro. It probably wasn't. Either way, it sucks. Regardless of how it happened, it still sucks.
Yeah.
Detergent free.
You want to get the zinc additive for that hemorrhoid treatment. You wouldn't want to wipe your cam lobe out down there, would you?
Dust Double Garage. What about the 1970 Duster Twister with the 426 Hemi 6-pack? No. Look, I'm sorry, but I'm a freak for that stuff. Like you know what I mean? It's like, right down to the door buttons. The 68 has black plastic door buttons, and all the other ones have the chrome metal ones. And it's little stuff like that absolutely drives me insane. It's little details like that.
John M. So for flat tappets, zinc or not, you need zinc.
Zinc.
Yeah. How is the knee, Kiwi? Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. It clicks and clunks a bit, it hurts a bit sometimes if I'm chasing Mrs. Kiwi up the stairs, but you get over it.
Random guy, the 68 Coronet is becoming a huge controversy now. Really, what's the controversy?
68 Comet? Coronet.
The video
I was misreading that.
I did today.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what's the controversy? It's not really it is a Coronet, and it's.
Andrew Button, no controversy. It's junk. End of story. I mean, I'd like to know what the controversy is. Charlotte, I didn't chew you out. It's just I get frustrated with misinformation like that. And I know you're the messenger, and I just took a shot at the messenger, and I'm sorry, but I get very protective of Mopar facts.
Oh, hey, thanks, Wayne. I appreciate that, man.
What do you say?
Oh, I see. Glad you're on the mend. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's there every day, but shit. Hey, I'm walking around and I'm doing shit like this, so life's good.
All right, dude, look what time it is.
I'm as lethargic as a 273 powered 3-speed on the column B body station wagon. That's pretty lethargic, but you need some coffee or Red Bull or both.
J. Russell Fitch, imagine the clicks if you actually visited that 68 Super Bee, it would blow up like a tag job video. I went as far as I wanted to go with it. I really don't need to go any further. I think everything just stands on its own. Joel Jenkins, Black Ghost Challenge, legit or not? I don't know, bro. I did 2 videos on it. You watch those videos and tell me what you think.
That's so crash a lot. The new kid on the job site asked me if I had toilet paper. I handed him a can of WD-40 and said, use this. He looked puzzled, so I said, just spray it on before. Oh, okay.
Random guy. The controversy in the comment section of the video, people are saying YouTuber ran out of video ideas. Probably a shot at you. Oh, I'm sure, and that's fine. Take all the shots at me you want. Listen, this is my job. I make YouTube videos. This is what I do, right? I didn't run out of anything. I got material from here until doomsday. That's no problem. This is something that crossed my path, and I thought it would be of interest and value to the viewers, and that's why we did it.
Black Ghost Challenger, legit or not? Not legit, from what you.
No, it's definitely not legit.
No. That polarized a few people, but that's okay.
I polarize everybody. That's okay.
Yeah.
I am the polarizer.
I mean, honestly, sometimes people need to be polarized a little bit. Hey, Kiwi, thoughts on the first gen 392 for performance? First gen, I've got one of those under the bench at work. The first gen 392. I'm a little out of my depth. While I own one of those motors, it doesn't mean I know a lot about it. What I do know is that, you know, the true hemispherical combustion chamber was not that great. It was a fantastic selling point. It wasn't that great, really, for horsepower. You know, you're not a fan of the 426 Hemi, really.
Well, for certain applications, I am. But for a normally aspirated engine, you got to remember something now. The 426 Hemi was released in 1964. Okay, by 1968, it was obsolete.
Right. So
that's how you have to, you know what I mean? It was still hung in there. It still hung in there. But the technology had already moved past that. And that's where the 429 came in with the quench pads. It had the canted combustion chamber and the quench pads. So the 426 Hemi was already obsoleted with the next level of technology had started to evolve just 4 years after it was released. So, and now today it's completely out. There's nothing that uses just an open dome combustion chamber like that anymore.
It's not the best way to do it. It's just not. And really, the fact that nobody is using it now tells you that that's the facts.
It's used in certain applications.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's only used in applications that require low dynamic compression ratios.
Right.
Right. Because what happens is the dome. See, you got 177 cc combustion chamber, okay? And to get any type of compression, anything over, let's say, 12:1, right? Like competition compression ratios, the dome has to go up so high that it actually interferes during that period of overlap when both the intake and exhaust valves are open, pistons at top dead center on the exhaust stroke. Well, at that point, the dome of the piston is interfering with the flow across the chamber. So, I mean, like, you know, it's obsolete. Okay, what was this about? 104 Speed Shop. Thanks, Tony. I just on my own channel, and you receive his inspiration. Everybody, go look at 104 Speed Shop. Check out his channel. It's
there you
new.
Go. I had a friend back in the day that had a 68 Dodge Coronet 440. That was the model, but it had a 318. He thought that was ironic at the time.
I still think it's ironic.
A Coronet 440 was the model number, not the engine number.
Right.
Yeah, I had a Dodge 330 way back when.
Yeah.
Like a 63.
Yeah, but that didn't have a 330
Didn't have a 330 in it, no.
But the Dart, the Dart had 2 trim levels. You had the 170 and then the 270. But the 170 had a 170 engine. There is no 270 engine.
No.
And it was before the 273 came out.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Coronet 440, why they picked 440 at the same time that they had the 440 engine, I don't know why they did that. But we are running out of time. We're down to the last 1 minute and 3 seconds. 2 seconds. Wow. 1 second. 1 minute flat. Okay, let's grab a quick one here. Ready? blinker fluid. Rob's Classics.
I feel Tabo. I only have a shed full of Aussie Hemi 6s. Do you seriously have a shed full of Aussies Hemi 6s? Because that is not irrelevant, brother. You know damn well that's not irrelevant.
Let's see.
Kiwi, how is the timing on that IH Scout with the geared cam? Mate, we haven't touched it. Haven't looked at it. It's just been too busy.
Well, I'm going to go over to his place tomorrow.
That's true, yeah.
So yeah, we'll put our heads together on that again tomorrow. All right. So guys, I am gonna pull a plug on this because I still have a lot of shit to do before this night is over. Kiwi, what do you want to promote? What do you tell these people? What you get it off your chest? Just let them have it. What is it?
What do I want to promote?
Yeah. What do you want to tell
them? We got a lot of videos coming up on the channel. It's a juggling act at the moment, trying to get the videos out and do the work and do the videos. But hang in, bear with me. I got some good content coming. There's some interesting cars in there.
And I'm going to steal some content from them anyway.
Well, there's that too.
So,
and
yeah.
Oh man, there's a problem. You coming tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah, we emptied all the trash cans today.
Oh shit.
Shit.
I got cars to build.
Anyway, seriously, hope you guys enjoyed the show.
Yes.
Enjoyed the chat. It's not really a show. But yeah, we enjoy it. I enjoy it. And
it's always a good time.
Come over to my channel and subscribe if you like.
Come on, before we go, a little bit of ABBA. Come on, Dancing Queen. Come on.
No, Dancing Queen.
Fernando. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go, Fernando.
Oh, shit, that's as best as you're going to get out of me.
That was my lyrical singing voice.
Our mods, Harry, Fubar Zero, guys. Thank you so much as always. Everybody contributed with Super Chat. Thank you. As always, it's always appreciated. It's never expected, but always appreciated.
And if anybody wants to send him some ice water, that'd be really good.
Yeah, I'll have water. I got you a barbecue sauce. It's a little thicker than the water, but it'll work.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the condition.
I might have to get a beer on the way home somewhere. I think I can make it home.
And everybody contributed just with your presence and your conversation. Thank you equally. We appreciate it.
204 likes. You see, they do like me.
A little bit. They like you a little bit. Well, today was Thursday, so I don't have to promote this. Sunday night, we'll be here with a regular Sunday Night Live, 7 o'clock, and Kiwi won't be there.
No.
But Uncle Kathy will.
I might be watching, but hey, you never know.
You lurk.
How busy I am.
You lurk and
I lurk.
Yeah. So that's it all. Thank you all, and we'll see you. I don't know. I'm going to make this end. I can't think of anything to say.
All right.
See you guys. Stroke or something. I'm fading fast.
See ya.